What's going on? It's Suk and I'm back with a brand new video on SuperDuprTech, and in today's video I'll be showing you the results that I got when I ran a number of different benchmarking tests on the brand new Google Pixel 9 Pro XL. We are on the road to 10,000 subscribers, so if you are new around here, then I must ask you to hit that subscribe button, clicking the bell to be notified when any of my up and coming videos go live. But without any further ado, let's hit the titles. In terms of specs, the Pixel 9 Pro has the brand new Google Tensor G4 chip, which has the Titan M2 security co-processor along with 16GB of RAM. And this is the entry model, which means it comes with 128GB of storage. So the first benchmarking application which I ran on the Pixel 9 Pro XL was Geekbench 6. Now I started off by running the CPU test, and when running this test I got a CPU single core score of 1982 with a multi-core score of 4781. Also through Geekbench I ran their compute tests and started off by running the OpenCR test, in which I got a score of 6481. I also ran the Vulkan compute test and got a score of 6969. I then ran Geekbench AI, and when running Geekbench AI and running the CPU test, I got a single precision score of 2021 along with a half precision score of 2014, and we also have a quantized score of 3063. When running the GPU test through Geekbench AI, I got a single precision score of 721 with a half precision score of 832 with a quantized score of 803. And when testing the NPI or neural engine aspects of the Tensor G4 chip in this Pixel 9 Pro XL, I got a single precision score of 349, a half precision score of 4581 with a quantized score of 6466. I then wanted to test the GPU of the Tensor G4 in this Pixel 9 Pro XL, so I ran a number of different tests from 3D Mark, and I started off by running the slingshot test. And when running this test, it overall maxed out this test, with it maxing out the graphics and the physical scores. And so I then ran the slingshot extreme test, and with this test it also maxed the physics and the graphics score, which is pretty much something that I expect with most modern flagships. In fact, most modern flagships won't even allow you to run this test because by default it already knows that the chip is more than capable. And so I ran the wildlife test, and once again it maxed out this test, with it also maxing out the frame rate. And so I then ran the wildlife stress test. Now interestingly enough, when running the wildlife stress test, the best score that it achieved was 9026, with its lowest score being 5507. And you can clearly see that once it hit its fourth loop, that the performance dropped by almost 30%. So with those results, I also ran the wildlife extreme test, and with this test I got a score of 1966, with it scoring an average frame rate of 11.78 frames per second. I also ran the wildlife extreme stress test, and with this test the best score that it achieved was 2400, with the lowest it scored being 1768. And you can see that with this test it dropped down to that score after around 3 loops. I also ran the Steel Nomad light test, and with this test it scored 1031, with it scoring an average frame rate of 7.64 frames per second. And when running the Steel Nomad light stress test, the best score it achieved was 1037, with its lowest being 721, which is around a 30% decrease in performance. I wanted to further test the GPU's performance in the Tensor G4 within this Pixel 9 Pro XL. So I then ran Geekbench, which is a graphics benchmark designed to test the graphics performance of this smartphone. It runs a number of different tests which vary from both higher and lower levels of intensity that are run both on and off screen. Now, in the interest of saving some time, I have calculated the average for each of these categories, but as always I will show you each individual result. So the average that I got for the higher intensive tasks was an average of 88.1 frames per second, and the average I got for the lower level intensive tasks was an average of 166.16 frames per second. I also ran the Basemark GPU test, testing the Vulkan API performance when gaming at a resolution of 1920 by 1080. And when running this test at this resolution, it scored 15,200, which also means that it came in with an average frame rate of 152.01 frames per second. And when testing the OpenGL performance through the Basemark GPU test, it now scored 13,285, with it scoring an average frame rate of 132.86 frames per second. I also tested its Vulkan performance when running at a resolution of 2833 by 1344, and when running at this resolution it scored 10,616, with it scoring an average frame rate of 106.16 frames per second. And when testing the OpenGL performance at that resolution, it scored 10,766, with it scoring an average frame rate of 107.67 frames per second. I also wanted to test the networking capabilities of the Pixel 9 Pro XL, and when running the Wi-Fi speed test, I got a download speed of 559 megabits per second, along with an upload speed of 87.3 megabits per second. And when testing the 5G speeds through EE here in the UK, I got download speeds of 120 megabits per second, along with upload speeds of 28.6 megabits per second. I then tested the storage and RAM speeds in the Pixel 9 Pro XL, and when testing the storage, I got sequential write speeds of 170 megabytes per second, along with sequential read speeds of 573.7 megabytes per second. I also got random write speeds of 15.1 megabytes per second, along with random read speeds of 406.6 megabytes per second. I also got memory copy speeds of 5.4 gigabytes per second. I also ran another disk speed test, and with this test I got read speeds of 553 megabytes per second, along with write speeds of 138 megabytes per second. I also ran the AI benchmark, and when running this test I got a device AI score of 746. I then ran the Antutu graphics benchmark, and when running this test, it scored 907,498. Using the Antutu app, I also ran their storage test and got a score of 57,820, along with sequential read speeds of 1,907.7 megabytes per second and sequential write speeds of 307.3 megabytes per second. And when testing the RAM performance, it got read speeds of 556 megabytes per second and write speeds of 336 megabytes per second. I also ran the Antutu HTML5 browser benchmark, and with this I got a score of 66,862. I once again wanted to test the performance of the storage in the Pixel 9 Pro XL, and when running the Jazz disk benchmark, I got sequential read speeds of 1,467.05 megabytes per second, with read speeds of 219.74 megabytes per second. When testing the RAM, I got read speeds of 51.53 megabytes per second, along with write speeds of 53.07 megabytes per second. So that'll be it for today's video. Of course, if you are new around here, then be sure to hit that subscribe button, clicking the bell to be notified when I upload any of my up and coming videos. If you have any questions with anything you've seen in today's video, or if there is anything you would like to see specifically tested on these devices, then be sure to let me know by hitting me up over on X and Instagram. I'll leave them linked down below in this video's description. Once again, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care and have a good one.